3 weeks of just you and me and no kids. Ready?
I'm ready.
Me too. Here we go. Give me a hit of whatever you're on right now. Welcome to A Late Show. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert. All over America, millions of people are still marching to protest the murder of George Floyd by Minneapolis police and police brutality in black communities nationwide. Over the weekend, we saw massive turnouts in cities like Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia. Now, that last one is particularly inspiring because usually when you see a crowd that big in Philadelphia, they're throwing batteries at the right fielder. Protests have also been a daily occurrence in New York City, and on Saturday, one of the largest was led by a familiar, covered-up face.
Welcome to certainly the more jubilant protests in New York City right now. A New Orleans-style second line led by John Batiste, best known as Stephen Colbert's Late Show.
Look at what we're doing. We're using music to bring people together of all races, of all genders, for Black lives. We have to get protests and we have to get to voting. 100 million people did not vote in the last election. We are battling three candidates: Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and apathy. And we have to fight apathy more than anything. And we have to fight for Black lives. And right now, if we don't do that, nobody will. We the ones. We are the chosen ones. We can change this.
Proud to know that man. And as John said, protesters represent a wide swath of America across every race, creed, and lack of color. That's right. Your eyes do not betray you. That is Mitt Romney marching with the protesters. Romney became the first Republican senator to join protesters marching through Washington with a group of Christian church leaders. And he was unequivocal about why he was there.
And violence and brutality, and to make sure that people understand that Black Lives Matter.
Man, why hasn't that guy ever run for president? He'd be way better than that binders full of women guy. And Mitt, while alone among Republican senators, is squarely in the American mainstream. Because it turns out, in a new Washington Post poll, 74% of Americans say they support the protests, including 53% of Republicans. At this rate, I look forward to the new cable news morning show, Fox and My One Black Friend. And according to polls, 2 in 3 Americans say the killing of Floyd represents a broader problem within law enforcement. The third American couldn't be reached because she was busy calling the police on a black bird watcher. Now, another poll found that 53% of registered voters now say they support Black Lives Matter, up from 42% a few weeks ago. So, just over half of American voters believe black people have the right to live. Good news? That's a start. Now it's time to put our money where our mouth is, just as soon as we take the slave owners off the money. Now, in this moment of economic and social turmoil, America has a tremendous opportunity. But to do what? Well, yesterday, House Democrats unveiled their police reform bill that would crack down on use of excessive force and ban certain practices like chokeholds. I think banning things that sound like murder is probably pretty good policy. Now we just have to outlaw stab and frisk. Now, some people want to go farther. One of the common signs held up at protests is Defund the Police, which is coincidentally the radio-friendly title of that song by NWA.
Defund.
The police coming straight from the underground.
Now, defunding the police might sound a little scary to some people. Like CBS, they'd have to change their entire primetime lineup. SWAT would have to become Community Health Services, and NCIS would stand for No Cops. Instead, Soup. It would still have a lot of murders in it, but there's also a lot of bisques and chowders. Defunding the police doesn't necessarily mean no cops. As one police reform expert at Georgetown Law School points out, defunding the police means shrinking the scope of police responsibilities and shifting most of what government does to keep us safe to entities that are better equipped to meet that need. It means investing more in mental health care and housing and expanding the use of community mediation and violence interruption programs. Because you see, right now, because those other services have been underfunded for years, all of that eventually falls to the police. And that's way too many things for them to be doing. It's like in the Middle Ages. It wasn't a good idea that your barber was also your dentist and your surgeon. And saying defund the barber doesn't mean no one's getting haircuts. Although, admittedly, right now, no one's getting haircuts. Now, this protest movement is really popular, but what has taken a hit in popularity are monuments to America's racist history, like Confederate statues and Donald Trump. Trump's latest approval rating is just 38%, on par with Jimmy Carter at this point in his re-election year. And we all remember how Carter bounced back with an astounding victory against Ronald Reagan. That's why the 80s were known for moderation and peanuts. These polls are a tough reality to face, and like all reality, Trump is denying it. Over the weekend, Trump called around to New York friends with the hopes that they would validate Trump's beliefs that the polls were wrong. But no one is telling him what he wants to hear. Oh, that's so pathetic. Please tell me that the polls are wrong and I'll get reelected. Sir, this is the Butterball hotline. Oh, in that case, I left my face under the heat lamp too long. Should I start basting it? Hello? Ooh, garlic knots. The president is looking where to aim his blame, and he's considering White House senior advisor and flushable wipe that wished to be a real boy, Jared Kushner. Kushner is currently overseeing Trump's re-election campaign, and according to an insider, the president is thinking of replacing his son-in-law. We know, sir. We've all seen the pictures. If Trump's looking for someone to blame, he should check out his reflection in the riot shields, because that new poll also says that 61% disapprove of his handling of the protests. That's not fair. He's handling them just as well as he handles a Bible. Trump is desperate to turn this thing around. So desperate, in fact, that the White House is considering a Trump speech to the nation on race and unity. Yes, they're considering it a heroic contemplation of the possibility of leadership. It reminds me of Dr. King's immortal words, "I'm thinking about having a dream." What would that speech be like? Would he take a page from the Democrats and wear an extra long kente cloth tie? Well, we may have gotten a little preview of Trump's sensitive approach to police violence, because this morning, the president weighed in on Buffalo police violently pushing an elderly protester to the ground. And the man involved, Martin Gugino, is in serious but stable condition, and we all hope for his speedy and complete recovery. But Trump isn't buying the kind, fragile old man act. No, because he tweeted, "Buffalo protester shoved by police, could be an Antifa provocateur. 75-year-old Martin Gugino was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out the equipment. I watched. He fell harder than was pushed. Was aiming scanner. Could be a setup." Let me get this straight. This 75-year-old man is an anti-fascist, which you somehow consider suspicious. He was somehow able to fall harder than he was pushed, fake a fractured skull, and spontaneously bleed from his ears, all the while operating a secret scanning device in order to black out all police communication equipment. Man, those jitterbug phones are getting really sophisticated. This big button is 911, and that one with the smiley face calls my grandson. Oh, and the red one down here with the hammer and sickle starts a populist revolution. No, later? Okay. Trump is trying to demonize the man because he knows he has to convince all the old white voters that he needs to get reelected not to sympathize with Gugino, which is a tall order because it turns out Martin Gugino is a pretty sympathetic character. He's a longtime peace activist and a member of a human rights organization called the Western New York Peace Center, and a member of a group who focuses on affordable housing called Push Buffalo. Well, given what just happened to their member, they may want to consider changing their name to Don't Push Buffalo. Maybe most damning to these conspiracy theories is that Gugino is also a member of a group called the Catholic Worker Movement. Formed in the 1930s, the movement describes itself as committed to nonviolence, voluntary poverty, and the works of mercy as a way of life. Hey, what do you expect? Jesus was a radical lefty, no shoes, no property, redistributed all the loaves and the fishes, and I heard he was crucified harder than he was nailed. Antifa. At this point, even if Trump gives a speech, it's way too little, way too late. Because today in Houston, friends and family gathered to remember George Floyd, a man whose legacy will live on in the struggle for progress for equality. The service was relatively small, attended by those who were closest to Floyd. Vice President Joe Biden declined to attend, not wanting to disrupt the service with a security detail, but he did appear in a pre-taped address, and the vice president had a compassionate message for George Floyd's daughter, Gianna.
I know you have a lot of questions, honey. No child should have to ask questions that too many black children have had to ask for generations. Why? Why's Daddy gone? And looking through your eyes, we should also be asking ourselves why the answer is so often too cruel and painful. Why in this nation do too many black Americans wake up knowing that they could lose their life in the course of just living their life? Why does justice not roll like a river or righteousness like a mighty stream? Why?
You see, President Trump, it's possible to bring people to tears at church without having to release pepper spray. And the vice president did the one thing that the president fears the most. Biden didn't mention the name Donald Trump once. Let's hope very soon we can all do the same. We've got a show for you tonight. I'll be talking to the host of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, Emmanuel Acho, plus Fox News Sunday's Chris Wallace is here. Stick around.